Muchas gracias, Presidente. Muy buenos días a todos. Good morning. I'm very, very happy to be here. This is a very special moment for me, and let me just blink my eyes, because this is my trick, that when you get emotional and you can't do that in front of a camera, because that's one of those unwritten rules with journalists. You cannot get emotional. So my trick is you just put your head back a little bit, blink, and the tears will go back in. Okay, fine. I got it. Okay, I got this. I'm fine now. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. More than honored to be your commencement speaker today. President Kerwin, Provost Bass, Dean Rutenbeck, Jeff, I know that you like to be called Jeff, faculty, students, parents, good morning to you all. And a wonderful morning it is for everyone involved, for teachers, for parents, and for students. You know, teachers go into the field of education, one of the kindest and most selfless careers in the world, for moments like this, to share their knowledge and expertise with students and then watch them make it to graduation and then on to begin their own professional careers. Parents make all sorts of sacrifices, as we know, to make sure that they give their children the best and most important inheritance that they can possibly receive, an education. And nothing makes parents more proud than seeing their babies graduate. Yes, doesn't matter what age you are, you will always be our baby, so get used to it. And students, you made it. Congratulations, class of 2016. Yes, it was your parents that were there for you since kindergarten, making sure that you did your homework, applauding your every academic achievement, creating albums with your school pictures throughout the years, even through your nerdy-looking years, and we all had those. It was your parents who worked so hard so that you could go to college, whether it was providing the funds or giving you encouragement or making sure you had a nice warm meal while you navigated the complicated college application process. They were there. It was your teachers who guided you along the way. They answered your questions. They clarified your uncertainties. They challenged you not to give up. They believed in you even when you doubted yourself. However, as important as they have been in your life, it was you who made it this far. It was you, since the beginning of college, who had to figure out the balance between enjoying your new freedom and making sure you got good grades so your parents wouldn't make you go back home. It was you who had to drag yourself out of bed to make it to your class on time. It was you who had to deal with the stress of figuring out if your major was actually your passion. It was you who pulled those all-nighters at the library preparing for finals. So you earned your degree, and for that you deserve a big round of applause. You know, you and I have something in common today. I'm also receiving a diploma. I'm also receiving an award, an honorary doctorate of humane letters, and I'm truly honored to be receiving this degree. And what that means is that American University believed that my work throughout my 35-long-year career as a broadcast journalist deserved to be recognized and rewarded with a doctorate degree. So next time that you feel that you've been in school too long, just think it took me 35 years to get my degree. You know, I'm expected to give you some words of wisdom and some advice, and I'll try to do that in just a bit. But first, let me tell you that the most valuable and practical advice that you will use in your life, you've already gotten. I know that it's hard for you to believe, but it came from your parents and other adults in your life. You might not recognize it now because it's stored in that little vault you have in the back of your brain where you stored all that useless information. It's understandable, since most young people think their parents are old-fashioned, out of touch with reality, and clueless. But guess what? We are not. And I include myself because my daughter, I think, because I hope she woke up on time. My daughter is here, and my stepdaughters are here, and I know that one day that piece of advice that I gave them will pop out of that little vault and help them in some way to solve an issue or face that challenge. And they will come to me just like you will go to your parents and say, "Mom or Dad, you were right." And then that's when we as parents get the satisfaction of saying what parents love to say: "I told you so." So some of the life lessons that helped shape my career as a journalist were just simple phrases that actually had nothing to do with the news business. But each one of them became a building block that took me to where I am now. Be the best at whatever profession you choose in life. Don't allow yourself to be mediocre. Don't be a conformist. If you can make a difference in someone's life, do, and never stop learning. This is how I applied them. Be the best at your profession. Thank you. Be the best. This one came from my mother. She was a seamstress, the best one around. She worked in a factory in Los Angeles and would sometimes bring home work with her. And I would ask her why she had to work extra hours, and she'd say because she was so good and fast at what she did that her boss wanted her to sew more pieces. In reality, it was because we needed the extra money to pay the bills. She used to tell me, whatever you choose to do with your life, strive to be the best. You want to be a seamstress? Be the best. You want to be a designer, which was my dream when I was a teenager, one of my many dreams? Then be the best designer, she'd say. What my mother didn't realize is that by bringing more pieces to sew at home, she was also teaching me by example that to be the best and most successful in your career, you also had to go above and beyond the call of duty. So when the time came around that I began my career in the news media, there was no doubt that I was going to work and work hard toward being the best at that job. So that takes me to don't allow yourself to be mediocre. I went into the profession by accident. I had studied marketing and was very interested in the budding Hispanic advertising business in the early 80s. I had been working in Spanish language radio for a couple of years, and I was offered a job at KMEX Channel 34 in Los Angeles, what is now the #1 station in the country, regardless of language. But back then, it was a very small station that was part of what was attempting to become a network to serve the growing Hispanic community across the country. For some reason, I thought that taking that job would lead me to the advertising department, but I was being hired for the news department. So I had some experience with the microphone in my hand, but I had never been in front of a camera. So for the first 2 weeks of my job, I was off the air because I lost my voice. I had laryngitis, which is a medical term for I was scared to death. When I finally began anchoring and reporting, it took me months to look directly into the camera. It does happen. I was so shy that it took me a year before I raised my hand in a press conference and asked a question. But I was not about to allow myself to be mediocre, no. So I went back to school, I enrolled in broadcast journalism courses at UCLA, and when I finally realized that other reporters in those press conferences were asking the questions that I wanted to ask but thought were too dumb to ask, I started raising my hand, and I haven't stopped asking questions since. Don't be a conformist. I've been working a long, long time. My first job was actually at 14 years of age. I was working at a clothing factory where my mom worked, and my job was to clip the threads hanging from the clothes before they were put into plastic bags and shipped to the stores. I worked because I had to. I needed to help my parents pay the rent and pay for my private school education. After the clothing factory, I worked in a cafeteria, then at a movie theater, and then at a film distributor, and so on, so on. I would change jobs when I realized that at that particular place, there was no room for me to grow. I was not about to settle, and I was not ever going to be a conformist. That's why, when I started working at KMEX Channel 34, I realized that I finally found my calling. Here was an industry where there was so much room for growth. There was so much to do, so many stories to tell. That's one of the amazing things about the news business. And I'm sure that all of you know by now that you wake up every morning and you don't know what you're going to be reporting on. Every single day represents a new challenge and a new opportunity to make a difference. So if you can make a difference in someone's life, do so. People have different reasons and different motivations for going into the news business. It's the excitement and the adrenaline that comes with breaking news. It's the privilege of watching history unfold before your eyes. It's that drive to seek the truth, to uncover corruption, to denounce injustice, to question authority. That's what makes us fall in love with our profession, one that I think is the best in the world. But for me, there was another element, social service. I realized very early on in my career that those of us who worked in Spanish language media had an added responsibility. Besides reporting the news, we needed to inform a community that had thirst for information. We needed to help them assimilate and acculturate to what many was their newly adopted country. Many felt disenfranchised from society. I felt I needed to inform them not only of their rights, but also of their civic responsibilities. Knowledge is power, and the empowerment of the Latino community became my passion. By giving a voice, I could make a difference in their lives. Some people call that advocacy journalism, and they say it like if it was a bad thing. But tell me what journalist doesn't have an issue, a specific community, or a cause that they don't advocate for in their reporting in one way or another? How could I not report on the pain of a family being separated by deportation, or a child that goes to school every day not knowing if their parents will be home when they return? How can I not report on the abuse and the exploitation of migrant workers, or the racial profiling that targets people because of the color of their skin or their accent in their voice? In trying to navigate this fine line between balanced journalism and opinion, doing nothing should never be an option. One thing I've learned is that you can't become an accomplice to injustice and abuse. Never stop learning. I'm grateful to my father, thank you, Dad, for instilling in me the social conscience that I have, and for this very important piece of advice: never stop learning. I've been asked, how does it feel to be on the top of your game? A network news anchor, having interviewed dozens of heads of state, traveling all over the world, being a witness to history, watched by millions of people, receiving the most prestigious awards in the news business. God forbid me feeling like I'm at the top of my game. I don't want to be at the top, because once you've reached the top, you only have two choices. Either you start going down, or you have to hang on. You have to hang on to stay. Well, the problem is that when you think that you know it all, there's nothing more to learn. There's not much to look forward to. I'd rather think that there's a lot more to learn. There's always a new story to cover, a new headliner to interview, a new technology to conquer, or why not, a new way to reinvent myself at my age, believe it or not. I'm still thinking about it. Never losing sight of my mission to inform, inspire, educate, and empower. You know, you are just beginning to invent yourselves. And many of you might be concerned about what you're going to do once you graduate, and you have to support yourself. Will you live up to your parents' expectations? Will you live up to your own expectations? Will you get the job you want, and will you like the job you get? Will life be the way that you envisioned it, or will it take you in an unforeseen direction? Don't worry, you'll find your way. For some, it might take a little bit longer than others, but you have so many tools. You have so many tools to help you succeed. A good, solid education, a supportive family, a worldwide web of friends that you have developed here at American University that will be there for you when you need them, and a tremendous power to impact the world. I know that as your commencement speaker, I'm expected to talk to you about what it's like out there in the real world. I would bet that just about in every commencement ceremony, in every school of communications in the country this month, there's a speaker who will talk about how much the news business has changed, how much it's evolved, how technology and social media changed everything. But you already know that. In fact, you could teach us veteran journalists a thing or two about the new technologies. And what direction is this industry heading? I should be asking you. You're the ones that are going to reinvent media and revolutionize the industry. You're already doing it. I do have a warning for you. Some of you might be starting your careers in the media right after you graduate. Well, it happens to be an election year. Please don't use what you see out there as an example of what fair and balanced journalism should be. It's not a normal election. So it looks like even we are breaking all the rules in the media. You know, either way, every 4 years, we become public enemy number one. because politicians blame the media for everything to cover up their inefficiencies. Imagine this year, they're even accusing us of creating Donald Trump. That's how bad it gets. In closing, as your commencement speaker today, I'm supposed to inspire you. But you inspire me. Now I'm getting emotional? No, I can't do this now. You inspire me. Your youth, your energy, your inquisitive minds, your knowledge, your creativity, your independence, your resilience, your tremendous potential, your eagerness to conquer the world. You are an amazing generation, and I want to live to be 100 so that I can experience the world that you are going to build. So I'll keep my advice and words of wisdom very simple. Whether you want to be a journalist, a filmmaker, a game designer, a public relations guru, a marketer, a political pundit, a digital media entrepreneur, or whatever else you choose to be the best one. Don't allow yourself to be mediocre. Don't be a conformist. Make a difference in people's lives. Never stop learning. It worked for me so far. And if I may add one of your own, do what's going to make you happy and have fun along the way. Váyanse a comer el mundo. Thank you.